So at this time, I'm going to invite our mayoral candidates to return to their seats in the front row and invite Councilmember Addison to come on down. And then we have two other council members that we invite to come up on stage as we transition to the affordable housing and healthy homes portion of our agenda this evening. For that portion, I invite Autumn Fair, Beverly Ross, Paulina Chavez, and other members of Sacred Heart, Sheila Herlihy, Reverend Derek Starr Redwine, Reverend Mari Rennick, Denise Rhymes, Nancy Kunkel, Marty Wegbright, and Pastor Ralph Hodge. And first, I'll turn it over to Beverly.
Good evening. As most of us know, we have neighbors living in about 1,000 mobile homes across the south side of Richmond. These homes are very old. Most of them were manufactured in the 1970s and some in the 60s. But these aging mobile homes are all that these families could afford. Conditions are bad. Water has seeped into the homes over time, destroying the insulation, leading to extreme heat in the summer and extreme cold in the winter. And there are other problems: mold, rodents, collapsing floors, and leaking roofs. The families who own these homes have tried to keep up with costly repairs, but they need and deserve help. In many ways, this is a group of people who have been forgotten. Nothing existed to address this critical need, but through our efforts of the last 2 years and in collaboration with members of City Council, we have won a total of $800,000 for a mobile home repair and replacement program. And I am excited to share with you that 21 homes received approval for repair. And repairs have been completed in 11 of these homes. Several of these homes are owned by my fellow parishioners from Sacred Heart. Paulina Chavez will speak for them. Paulina?
Muy buenas noches a todos, mi nombre es Paulina. Aquí estoy con mis paisanos nuevamente para mostrar el cambio positivo.
Buenas tardes, no, English, sorry. Good evening, everyone. My name is Paulina Chavez, and I'm here with my community once again to demonstrate the power that we have to achieve change together.
Yo vivo aquí en Richmond con mis hijos. Nosotros vivimos una traila que tenía muchos problemas y aquí nos vamos a mostrar un video cómo fue antes y después de reglamento que hizo Proyecto Hogares.
I live in Richmond with my children. We were living in a trailer that had a lot of problems. So now we're going to see a video about how my trailer was before and how it is now after the repairs by Project Homes.
Así estuvo el techo de las trailas. Y también la ventana entraba mucho agua cada vez que llueva. Y todos los paredes, todo el piso cubrido.
This was the bathroom ceiling. There was a crack where water got in every time it rained. There was mold and there was rotted floorboards everywhere.
Esa es la ventana antes.
The windows beforehand, when they were very bad, a lot of water came through.
Ese es baños antes.
This is the bathrooms, again, before the repairs.
Ese es el baño ahora.
And now you see the bathroom as it is now.
Así estuvo a la traila antes y ahora ya vieron mucho cambio, ¿no?
And so this is the trailer as it was and as it is, the windows, everything. You can see a really big change.
Ese es trabajo que hizo el proyecto Hogares.
So all this work, Project Homes, I'm so sorry, did together because of the power that Risk brought together.
Ese es de la traila de Pedro que está aquí también presente.
And so this is
Ese es techo de su traila de él.
This is the roof of one of the other trailers that Project Homes was able to renovate in my same community. Pedro's trailer. This is Pedro's trailer. I'm so sorry. Pedro, right here. Here to testify to the amazing changes that we've seen.
Bueno, esa es mi historia, pero no es mi historia sola, sino que hay bastante personas que están viviendo así y porque solo que tiene ellos miedo a pedir ayuda. Por eso es muy importante los oficiales que dediquen más el dinero para poder reparación y reemplazar más trailas.
So this is my story, but it's not only my story. There are so many more people who are still living like this. That's why it's so important that the city and the officials here tonight dedicate more money to both the repair and the replacement of these mobile homes.
Muchísimas gracias a todos público porque todo ese es apoyo de todos público también, así que se lo agradecemos mucho, no nosotros, sino que Dios también con uno. Gracias por sus tiempos.
Thank you so much to all of you, to the officials, but it is all of us as the public who have to get this done. So, along with God's help, thank you.
Feliz noche.
Thank you, Paulina and Beverly. We're going to switch gears now to our affordable housing campaign. Now, as I lay out our case, I'm going to invite you to join me. On the day of our Nehemiah action a year ago, our city leaders, many of whom are here tonight, declared an affordable housing crisis, and we could not agree more. 6 months later, Risk held our annual house meetings, and our members continued to share stories of suffering. A 70-year-old man had rent that doubled, and he was forced to move into a motel. A single mom was evicted and struggled to pay over $600 a week in rent at an extended stay motel. A senior citizen can no longer afford the apartment that she's rented for 20 years. A single mother and her 3 children were forced out when the new landlord stopped making needed repairs until tenants left, so then he could charge inflated rents to new tenants. And these are not isolated stories. The research tells us that there are literally thousands of families living in crisis when it comes to finding safe and affordable place to live. Do you know that more than 13,000 families in our city end up paying more than half of their monthly income on rent? When you are paying that much of your money to rent, guess what? You have to make decisions on whether you'll pay the rent or buy food or medicines. Not choices that any person should have to make. Choices that one must make in crisis. There's a slide coming on the 13,000 families that I just mentioned. And it breaks down the 13,000 families in a pie chart with different income levels. And these annual income levels that you will see on the pie chart in just a minute are for a family of 4. All right. When you see the pie chart, you will see that there's a yellow slice of pie. All right. And that is the families that are making between $55,000 and $85,000 annually. Then there will also be an orange slice of pie, which is the families making between $33,000 and $54,000 annually. And there it is. Thank you. And the red slice of pie, which is the biggest pie slice. These are the families making $32,000 and below. And this is where we have the vast majority of families. Almost 80% of the 13,000 families paying half or more of their income to rent are the lowest income earners. These are grocery store clerks, teachers' aides, childcare workers, delivery persons, housekeepers, hardworking people who need and deserve a roof over their heads that they can afford. And this is why it's so important that our city fund the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Because the trust fund requires that 30% of the trust fund dollars create housing for the lowest income earners, those making $32,000 or less a year for a family of 4. So let me just review some history on the trust fund. In its first 10 years, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund was funded just with whatever money happened to be available, which was an average of about $1 million per year. But then, in January of 2021, Risk championed and City Council unanimously passed an ordinance that created a dedicated stream of revenue from expiring tax abatements for the trust fund. This meant that $2.3 million would go in the trust fund in 2023, and that's the first bar on the chart right up there, and it would increase each year, reaching $17 million annually in 2033 and beyond. That was a great win, and we were so excited because that's the kind of money that can generate a lot of affordable housing units and could really start to address this crisis. But the mayor decided not to follow the ordinance. Instead, he presented a whole new idea. The city would sell bonds for affordable housing. He said it was more money than the ordinance's dedicated stream of revenue. But the financial information he provided was misleading and incorrect. When the city hired an independent financial institution to review the numbers, it reported that the dedicated stream would ultimately provide more than 3 times the amount of money for the trust fund than the mayor's office had stated. And to make matters worse, the mayor did not plan for the bond revenue to go in the trust fund, where there is citizen oversight and that requirement of 30% of the funds to be used to create housing for the lowest income residents. Back to the pie chart, all of the families in red. But then, at our Nehemiah action a year ago, these council members committed to champion getting the bond revenue into the trust fund. Our council members followed through, and $10 million in bonds for the trust fund was put into the budget, and just last month, the trust fund board approved the distribution of funds, which will generate 822 more units of affordable housing.
This is good news, right? This is why we're here, the good news. And there's more work to do. So let's take a moment real quick to go over the commitments we are seeking tonight. Beverly shared that 21 mobile homes have been repaired or will be soon. Another 3 mobile homes have been replaced, will be replaced later this month. That's 24 homes in all, and that is a great start, but it is just a drop in the bucket. There are 1,000 trailers in these parks, and the majority of them need either repair or total replacement. So tonight we are asking our council members to champion getting $2 million in the fiscal year 2025 budget for the mobile home repair and replacement program. $1 million for the repair part of the program, which will fix another 67 homes. And another $1 million for the replacement program, which will replace another 6 mobile homes. Yes, you can clap, that's fine. That's an appropriate place. Now, with affordable housing, Autumn shared with us how the mayor has been refusing to follow the ordinance that was passed by council. An ordinance that says the dedicated stream of revenue from expiring tax abatements must go into the trust fund. Autumn showed this slide earlier. Those first 2 years' worth of funds in the bar graph from the dedicated stream of funding add up to just over $6 million. And our mayor has chosen to just leave that money sitting there instead of putting it into the trust fund where it could leverage hundreds of more homes of affordable housing. Now, the mayor's story for why he is not following the ordinance, his story keeps changing. First, he said there had to be a cap on the dollars. Okay. Then he said it was just far too complicated to calculate the annual amounts. Then he said we can't do it because there's a year delay in the auditing of the funds. Okay, then last week we heard the newest excuse, the delay in auditing will take up to 2 years to count the numbers. I wish I had that kind of delay in paying my fees and taxes. My point is the story, it keeps changing, which means the mayor is consciously choosing to ignore the law, even though he has declared an affordable housing crisis. So, council members, we are asking you to take a stand and say together, enough is enough. You have power independent of the mayor. You can make a commitment here tonight to do what is right. As you know, we are asking you to patron a resolution within the next 90 days calling upon the mayor to transfer the money that is owed from fiscal years 2022 and 2023 into the special reserve so you as council can appropriate those funds to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. In addition, we are asking that any more bond revenue that may suddenly appear, any bond revenue sought for affordable housing, we're asking that also goes into the trust fund as well. Because as you know, getting the money owed into the trust fund is the best way to ensure those dollars help the people who need it most. Richmond families are suffering, you know that. They don't have the luxury of playing hostage to excuses that keep changing. It is time for you as our elected leaders to do the right thing and make this wrong, make something better than it is. Make this terrible wrong, I knew I could do it, but right. I now pass this over to Reverend Mari Rennick, Denise Rhymes, and the Reverend Amy Starr Redwine.
So we have here tonight council members Andreas Addison, Stephanie Lynch, and Anne Francis Lambert. Council members, will you please stand? A couple of ground rules before we get started. One, Lance Nation will be holding the microphone for you for the questions portion of tonight. And two, we have reserved 2 minutes for each of you to speak tonight, and you can use your 2 minutes in one of 2 ways. If you answer all of our questions with an immediate and clear yes, you may use your 2 minutes to address everyone who's gathered here tonight when we're done with the questions. Otherwise, if your answer isn't a yes, the 2 minutes will be taken up in discussion. So we'll first deal with questions related to affordable housing.
Councilmember Lynch, we have learned that the council passed a resolution calling upon the mayor to ensure that $50 million in bond revenue goes into the trust fund, and that's good. And yet we know that the mayor could choose to ignore this. If the affordable housing bond revenue in the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget is not guaranteed into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, will you patron a budget amendment to guarantee that it is?
Yep. Oh, yes.
That's a yes. Councilmember Addison, we seek your commitment to support Councilmember Lynch. Will you support her in this amendment?
100%.
That's a yes. And Councilmember Lambert, can we count on your support as well?
Absolutely.
3 yeses. And we will, as we promised you, the 2 minutes will come after our second question. Or third question, sorry. So Councilmember Lynch, we understand that we have a mayor in the final months of his terms who is running for governor. And throughout his terms as mayor, he has made commitments that he has not followed through with. And based on our conversations that we've all had, we believe that you all are serious about the mayor and his administration following through on commitments. Given that there is an ordinance on the books establishing a dedicated stream of funding for affordable housing, will you patron a resolution within 90 days guaranteeing the payment of money owed to the dedicated stream from the fiscal year 2022 and 2023 to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund as is required by the city ordinance?
Yes.
It's a yes. Councilmember Addison, will you co-patron this resolution?
Yes.
That's a yes. And Councilperson Lambert, will you also join in their efforts as a patron?
Absolutely.
That's 3 yeses. I'll now hand it over to Denise.
Thank you, Mari, and thank you, council members. We are now going to move to the mobile homes portion of our questions and ask you to commit to doing what is needed to get our neighbors living in the mobile home parks in this city the help that they need and that they deserve. So, Councilmember Lynch, get to be first again. If $2 million for the mobile home repair and replacement program, meaning $1 million each for repair and $1 million for replacement, is not in the upcoming fiscal 2025 budget, will you patron a budget amendment for that funding?
You know how I feel about that. That's an
I
emphatic
do,
yes.
but you tell them.
Yes.
Councilmember Addison, will you co-patron this same amendment?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Lambert, will you join in co-patroning this amendment?
Yes.
It is also my pleasure to welcome Councilwoman Ellen Robertson to the stage. Welcome.
And we're going to take just a moment to caucus.
I want to share that we have already, as you walked in, or I've talked to your colleagues, but we are also going to ask you the questions that we have asked already, that we've gotten 3 yeses from. Councilmember Robertson, we mentioned, as we've said before you got here, that you shared that the council has passed a resolution calling upon the mayor to ensure that all $50 million in bond revenue goes to the trust fund. And as we mentioned, that's good, but we know the mayor could choose to ignore this. So our question is, if the affordable housing bond revenue in the fiscal year of 2025 proposed budget is not guaranteed to go into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, will you, along with your colleagues, patron a budget amendment to guarantee that it is?
Are we restricted to this yes and no thing?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I
Yes,
can
ma'am.
say is yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
We won't receive a budget like that, so amendment won't be necessary, but absolutely all of the $50 million will go into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
That's a yes. Councilperson Robertson, given that there is an ordinance on the books establishing a dedicated stream of funding for affordable housing, will you, along with your patrons, or along with your colleagues, patron a resolution within 90 days guaranteeing the payment of money owed from the dedicated stream from the fiscal year 2022 and 2023 to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund as required by the city ordinance?
We will ensure that the city ordinance is carried out.
That is a yes.
And Councilwoman Robertson, if $2 million for the mobile home repair and replacement program, meaning $1 million for repair and $1 million for replacement, is not in the fiscal year 2025 budget, proposed budget, will you join your fellow council members in patroning a budget amendment for their funding?
Let's see. Does that mean Project Home is going to do the work?
So while we recognize that Project Homes has done the work up to this point, there's no guarantee that it would have to be done by Project Homes. That money could be put out to bid, and there should be other organizations that could take that on.
Okay, so if we can find someone that's going to do the work, and we can put it out for bid. Yes. If we can find someone that will do the work and know how to get that done, you all helped a lot last year with that. So we certainly will work to make that a reality.
And in order for that to happen, of course, it has to be in the budget. So we're asking if we can count on you to co-patron along with your colleagues who've already agreed to do this $2 million in the 2025 budget, if it's not there when you receive it. Can we count on you to do that?
We will work really hard to find the $2 million in the budget.
We'll take that as a yes. Thank you. So we got 3 immediate and direct yeses from council members Addison, Lynch, and Lambert. So yes, that's wonderful. And Councilmember Robertson, as I shared before you came, if we were able to do that, we would give 2 minutes for each of you to speak, but we took some time to talk with you a bit, so we're going to give them their 2 minutes. And we do ask that you keep to your 2 minutes. We do have a timekeeper here who will help you do that.
Yeah, let her go first.
had to vote first. I'm still holding. Oh, she's still holding.
Oh, I got to walk around. Can I walk?
sorry,
Can I
ma'am.
hold?
I'm
Oh,
sorry, ma'am.
you're stifling my creativity up here. Brothers and sisters, welcome. Welcome. It is a true honor to serve alongside you and with you in this, I will call it a war. And yes, indeed, we are at war. We are at war against those that are trying to take and trying to oppress. Just last week, council members were able to halt 21 evacuations from public housing. That's evacuations, that's families, 49 kids that would have been out on the street. We have 112 more coming. These are unlawful detainers. These are, as Marty Wakebright, our esteemed colleague, knows, very imminent crises, families who will be facing homelessness. And there are just simply not enough tools in our toolbox to not only house our families, care for them, but deter them from the trauma that they are facing of living on the margins. And in a country where just in your congregations, you have folks who are debating what size mansion they want to buy. And in that same congregation, they may have someone who is one paycheck away from being in the circumstance where they are out on the street. It is not in any way equitable, just, or Christ-like that we live in a country with so much, and yet there are people who are suffering with so little. It is absolutely one of the most horrific challenges that we have to grapple with as a nation, as a state, and as a locality. And I want to challenge you all today, because Richmond, as you see, we're up here. We are represented. But homelessness, the affordable housing crisis, knows no boundaries. So if you live in Henrico, you live in Chesterfield, you live in other localities, I want you to push your challenge your elected leaders to do the same.
We're going to voting order. Well, good evening, everyone. I just want to say thank you for your commitment to this important topic. Since I've been in office, this organization has been steadfast in making sure everybody has access to housing. It's in every budget we've been asked to present legislation, funding, and opportunities for everyone we can to support, no matter what income you are, no matter what part of our city you live in. You have a place of dignity to live in. We still have a lot of work to do. Even with these funds available, we still have a lot of people not being helped and assisted. It's going to take more than just city government being the intervention for all this to happen. It's a community level, federal, state, and other partnerships to make this thing come together. I also think with our looking at affordable housing, we need to look at those who are currently working really hard to keep their housing. That 50% of your cost going towards your rent, going towards your payments for living in your house itself, create a barrier, challenge, because then you can't live in the city you call home. And so much over the last 8 years, we've seen a lot of gentrification. Neighborhoods displaced, pushed out. Taxes are going up, cost of living is going up, and the affordability is not maintaining with that. We're not growing as an economy to support jobs and access to jobs that keep them in their homes, and we need to do both things. One, support their homes to be of high quality for all dignity of all levels of income, but more importantly, to make sure that we're supporting them with jobs and access to jobs in their neighborhood, not requiring a car, not requiring them to invest in other things, but bringing community benefits and aspects to where they live to benefit everyone together. To me, that's what I think this council has embodied in the 2 terms I've been able to serve in this capacity. And while we have a lot of work ahead of us to do, it's going to take a lot more than just focusing on these exact annual budgets. This needs to be a 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan in all neighborhoods across the city. And as a representative of the 1st District, I welcome any and all affordable housing opportunities to either maintain what we already have or bring in new, because that is one of the pieces of this whole thing together. It's all rising tides lift all boats, and I know we're all committed to working together. Thank you.
First and foremost, I got to say, I give God all the glory. I can't do that without him. We are servant leaders, And dealing with affordable housing in our communities is definitely something that you have to have a heart. You got to care. And I'm just proud and honored to stand on this stage with my colleagues, because we were able to open up the first homeless shelter here in the city of Richmond, and it's in the 3rd district. So I'm honored to be the council person who's helping to lead that way. But again, like they've all said, that it's not just us, it's going to take everybody. So I appreciate you all's advocacy. Keep it up, hold us accountable, and let's make this city great again. Thank you.
And Councilmember Robertson, our timekeepers tell me we have a little more time, so if you'd like a minute to share with us some of your thoughts, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening to you. Apologize, first of all, for running a little late. Had an unfortunate circumstance that I had to take care of. But I want to thank RISC. We've been at each other and with each other for a long time. I still remember the first RISC that I attended. And we've come a long way, and I think this is a strong partnership. We are all in this together. We recognize the need for housing being fundamental for all of us. You know, no one should have to pay more than 30% of their income for decent, clean housing in neighborhoods where I want to send my children to school, where I have a grocery store that I can go get food for my kids and for my family, where I can go to the movie, where I can live the life and the quality of life that we all want to enjoy and experience. And it takes all of us. It really does take all of us working together. And it takes more than the city. It does take the region. We open a shelter. 50% of the folk that are housed in our shelter are not from the city of Richmond, but Richmond carry the full cost. So for all of the Richmonders that are here and that know of Richmonders, we thank you, because it's your tax dollars that we are trying to use very wisely and very effectively to make things happen the way that they need to happen.